This is quite new. Still got this is quite useful. Yeah, because a lot of works are hinged at the bottom, and people want, understandably, is there writing on the back? And you can just go under, lift it up, have a little look. And so that's quite new. These are lovely. My husband said he's going to bury me with these. These are old.
Goggles.
Goggles.
I've never seen these.
They're watchmakers' glasses.
Beautiful.
We all have optivisors, but they're quite large and plastic.
So they magnify a bit.
They magnify.
Okay. Fantastic.
They're my
beautiful
magnifying.
box as well.
A beautiful mock. What's that? Mock snake skin.
Yeah. Wow. Fancy.
I'm clearly a girl who likes mock snakeskin. I've got a couple of pairs of these. And in a little box like this, it's easy to take around, to have a quick look.
Definitely.
And what else do I have?
Many things.
Many things in my bag. Actually, I mean, this is the problem when you go through... when you go into an exhibition or to a gallery and they want to see in your bag and they say, is there anything sharp? And you think,
where do I start?
I've got so many deadly weapons in here. And this roll has been with me since college days, this little roll. All manner, it used to be perfectly ordered and it really isn't ordered now. I haven't got my glasses. I was working with a curator, another conservator from the Met. And this is a shark's tooth.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
No, not many people in St. James's have a shark's tooth wound, but you can tuck something down, you can tuck a repair down.
How did you get it, if I may ask?
We were talking, we were working on, what was it? I think the Van Gogh installation, Van Gogh's drawings.
At the National Gallery.
At the National Gallery. And we were talking. And 3 months later she came back and I must have said something, that I'd had a problem. And she made me this. Wow. She said, Helen, the next time you have a problem, this might do it.
So special. Being
asked to take a label off the back of a work because there was a suspicion that there was a Nazi accession number underneath it. And sure enough, it was there, which again changed.
Hello everybody, welcome to Colnaghi Library, welcome to Colnaghi Talks. And I'm happy today to be with Helen Loveday here with me. Welcome, Helen.
Hello.
Helen is a leading figure in the field of paper conservation. She specializes in manuscripts and artworks on paper. She has studios in London and in Cambridgeshire. She has an incredible experience of 30 years in the field. She's been advising collectors, museums, university libraries, the art trade internationally, galleries like us, Colnaghi, other auction houses across New York, Paris, and London. And in terms of institutions, she also provides consultancy to the National Gallery here in London, and Royal Academy of Arts, Dulwich Picture Gallery, and the Fitzwilliam Museum. So Helen, welcome. It's a big honor to have you here and talk about paper and conservation.
It's very, very kind of you to have invited me. And actually, when you hear your own biography being read out, you think, no, that's not me.
Well, let's start exactly from your career, if you agree. Okay. We could talk about becoming a conservator, and my question would be, what first drew you to conservation specifically? Was there a moment when you realized that was your way of approaching art?
There was a moment. Of course, it was accidental, as so many things in life are. So I'd already had a bachelor's degree, and I was studying for masters. I was studying paleography and codicology, hence my love of manuscripts. And I was studying specifically the marginal doodles in the edges of medieval manuscripts, where the little grotesques. And I was incredibly proud to be studying doodles. And I think my thesis then was something like Doodles I Have Known. And I was so pleased to be doing this. And I was chatting with somebody in a library. And quite rightfully, they said to me, but what are you going to do? And I was quite embarrassed. I come from a family of doctors, and what was I going to do was quite a good question, and I made it up. So I said, I'll be a restorer, of course.
There you go.
Whoever I was chatting with was the right person to have mentioned this to, because he said, oh, so you'll go to Camberwell. And I lied. I said, I'm going to Camberwell. Of course, we didn't have the internet, so I went back to my college, looked up what is Camberwell beyond the end of number 36 bus route. And of course, it's Camberwell College of Arts. And there was the 2-year master's degree in paper conservation. So maybe it was in the back of my mind, but his questioning of me, what am I going to do? To have a skill.
Absolutely.
It suits me very well. I'm passionate about art, but I wouldn't say I'm an academic. I think I'm never happier than actually when I'm with a piece of art or caring for it at my bench, much more than in a library. So it was a good chance meeting.
Absolutely.
So that's how I started, a bit of a lie to an unknown stranger, But
as it often happens.
It often happens. And then 2 years of going backwards and forwards on the 36 bus. And yeah, they were good bus journeys.
Well, my follow-up question would be then, after so many years of looking and handling works of art, how has your relationship changed with the objects when you see them in a different context, for example, in a gallery or in a museum?
I think the words attached and detached are really quite useful, because I've become phenomenally attached to art. As I said, that I calm down, actually. I go into my studio and I can be worried, obviously, about the day ahead, what might happen, how am I going to care for the artwork. But actually, once I'm with the art, no matter who the artist is, my relationship is with the physicality of the work and how to help it. So in that respect, I'm very attached. On the other hand, I think it's possibly made me detached from work that I may, let's say, not understand as much. There's a lot of art I see, you can't not walk around London and see all the galleries, and a lot of it I don't understand. And maybe I walk past it more quickly now, because I'm lucky enough to see so much art that I can really focus on the art that I truly love. Whereas I think when I was a student, maybe I tried to understand everything. So maybe I've become detached from art that it is beyond. Art that doesn't resonate with me.
Absolutely.
I'm afraid I can possibly walk past now, slightly more quickly.
Well, yeah, but you kind of have to see everything before getting to that point.
Yeah, I think you do get to a stage and just knowing.
And for example, when you go to an exhibition and the exhibition features works on paper, maybe old works on paper, do you maybe stop by a drawing and you think by yourself, oh, here the conservation treatment hasn't been done so well?
It's terrible. It's so much easier for me to look at an oil painting or some ceramics, because I can go up to it and think,
you can rest.
I like that. Whereas drawings, I'm forever looking at the media. and this is my particular thing at the moment, you know, when it says crayon with chalk plus pastel plus graphite, and you think, where's the graphite?
Yeah.
Where's the chalk? Is it chalk? Is it pastel?
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard to not look diagnostically. It's not critically, it's diagnostically at paper and what's on it. Whereas, yes, impasto oil paintings or sculpture, I can simply go up to and say, I like that.
Well, I understand.
Which is lovely. You know.
Yeah, it is.
It's really lovely.
From a dealer perspective, it would be very similar for us when we, you know, go to an exhibition and we see these paintings and we maybe know the market history. We wonder about the value of them, the owners, and it's always, you know, an internal conversation that is not necessarily about the beauty of the object or the aesthetic characteristics of it, but
if you know more about it, it's very hard to remove all that you know about a work.
Exactly.
Once you're looking at it, and obviously, you know, to me, the confidentiality is a huge part as well. How much do you know about a work that you can't say?
It's so important.
So yes.
And that would lead me to my next question about your first encounter with an artwork. Let's say when you have to perform some conservation on it. What's the first thing you're looking for? Is it a combination of media, as you said?
I think the very first thing anybody needs to know is how stable. Before touching a work, because obviously, in order to look at the media, it's lovely to be able to move a work around, but you need to know: is that going to be appropriate? Is it stable enough to hold? You know, some tracing papers could be that terrible moment where the tracing paper decides it's had enough, and it bursts under tension.
Absolutely.
So and sometimes when you know you're presented with a work of art, you expect the artwork to be mounted onto the backing, so that you can open the window mount and look at the work. The worst moment, or one of the worst moments, is when actually it's stuck with sellotape on the window mount. So by opening it, the artwork flies forward as well, and so it's checking its stability. Can it be handled? And then at that point, once you've ascertained how it might behave, you can then begin to have a look.
Of course.
For material damage. You have all sorts of lights as well. Raking light and light from above. So trying to build up a picture, an understanding of what it is you're looking at.
Absolutely. And well, my next question would introduce an item that we have overlooked for now, this beautiful drawing that's been floating on our heads. It's a head by Jacopo Ligozzi. It's actually all made in pen and ink. There is a very subtle line of pencil or charcoal preparation, but most of it is done by hand, freehand, which is incredible. It's an ideal head of a woman. It dates turn of the 16th century, early 17th century. Early 17th century. And it's a marvelous artwork. It comes from a series. One of them was on the market some time ago with Christie's in New York, and we're now very, very lucky to have this other one with us again, because it belonged to Colnaghi in the 90s, if I remember correctly. Okay. And my question is related to condition as both material evidence of state of conservation, but also something that tells us more about the history of a piece. And in this case, for example, this drawing has been pasted on a backing sheet that is a Whatman backing sheet that we know because of a watermark that we found. And that tells a lot about, for example, when it was handled by a specific collector, where, and that helps with provenance. So what's this relation between material condition and historical information in works of paper?
It's so intertwined. It can make your job quite difficult, I must admit. But for example, you've mentioned a Whatman backing. lining. That's so the adhesion of another sheet of paper onto the original sheet of paper to make the original more stable. And you mentioned that there's another work.
Exactly.
Also
with the same paper, and the other work is at the Cultural Gallery today. So from there, we assume that at some point they were together in the same collection when this operation was made.
And that's fascinating, isn't it? And it's this background knowledge that builds up over the years, so that, I mean, I wouldn't say that it would be the case with this, but so often, as a conservator, particularly of flat works, you can be asked, can the backing be removed? And that's quite a complex affair. And obviously the first question is, should it be removed? And what does the backing tell you about its history? And if you take off the backing, there are two. The potential for damage is twofold. The potential for damage is either of the original work, because it's quite a physical thing, taking one backing off another. You know, you've got papers that move, and you've got pigments, pastels, chalks sitting on the surface.
It's quite scary.
It's quite scary. So actually taking one from the other could damage the original. Equally, it could damage the chance of really understanding the work. So it's that, I mean, conservation is a never-ending 36 bus route, actually, of a judgment call. You know, what do you do and when should you do it?
Definitely.
And sometimes you have to do it because one is damaging the other. So, I mean, I think that's what makes the job so fascinating.
It is, definitely.
It really, it's a wonderful thing to be forced to pause and think about what's going on, because it reveals life. And then with a drawing such as this, you have a picture of two workshops then, the artist's workshop and the workshop where both were lined. So there are two avenues of thought going on.
Definitely. When you get an artwork from a collector or a museum for the first time and they ask you to perform a condition assessment, what's the process you go through usually? I guess there are many cases, but...
I carry out two very distinct condition assessments because, as you so kindly mentioned at the start, I work as a consultant, for example, for the National Gallery and the Royal Academy. And in that respect, with colleagues, some wonderful colleagues, I'm responsible for the condition of the objects as they hang in the galleries. So there has to be an agreement of the condition of the work as it comes into the gallery, so that at the end of the 3 months of exhibition, there's an agreement that nothing has changed. But paper can change. It's mischievous. It responds to environment, as we all know. You know, humidity levels go up, paper cockles. And with an exhibition, what can happen is, even though the galleries have perfect environmental conditions in which to hang works, you have opening receptions, you have wet days, so you can't control everything. So when, for example, I'm making a condition assessment of a work for exhibition, I'm really wanting to know how it's going to respond to those moments when there's a lot of people, where people are 12 deep behind it, breathing, where even though they've left their umbrellas behind, the damp of outside is going to come in no matter what you do. So my condition assessment there is all about how is it potentially going to change over 3 months, because exhibitions are typically 12 weeks long. And are they going to be stable in that time? So I'm not really at that point interested in a thumbprint on the work. or works are behind glass. It's not that somebody is the thumbprint on a work isn't going to be new. I'm really interested in how it's hinged along the top, because you don't want the hinges to suddenly give way. So you really stand a work up and you really have a look. You tilt the work slightly in towards you, and you watch the paper, because it's got to be put on a wall and then taken off, and it's got to stay there. It might be knocked.
Yeah.
You'd rather it wasn't, but you never know. So my condition assessment there is its stability. It's not about surface dirt, because they're behind glass. Whereas another form of condition report that is equally interesting but quite different is, for example, if somebody's interested in buying or selling and just wants to know about the work itself. And at this point, they're generally not behind glass, so I can see them. So I'm looking at the physicality of the paper. Is it cockling? Is it torn? And has it been marked by the artist? Is it studio damage? Some artists are wonderfully laissez-faire with their... or has it been damaged through time? Has it been recently damaged? And then you look at the media on the surface. So I've devised some very, very specific forms, because you can get quite overwhelmed actually looking. So it's nice to have a checklist. So I go down my checklist, outside in really, frame, mount, paper, media.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that jogs my memory as well, rather than going off on a tangent. I'm reminded that I've got to look for X, Y, and Z.
Definitely. And well, something else that I would like to ask you about this, since we are a gallery dealing in books and paper as well, and we have clients buying from us quite frequently, both old master drawings and modern works. When I buy a work of art such as this one, and I want to hang it in my apartment or in my house, what should I look out for? The first enemy everyone says is the direct sunlight.
Yes.
So it's better to place it, I guess, in a more shaded part of the house.
Yes.
But you mentioned humidity and heat.
Humidity, it's because paper will readily absorb moisture and give away moisture. And as the paper fibre is a bit like a sponge, so they absorb moisture and they expand, and then they dry out. And so the paper moves, which means that the pigments on the surface move, but they'll do so at different rates. So you really don't want... paper doesn't like fluctuation. I'm a great believer that I work increasingly in Mumbai. And I'm working there because legally the artwork can't come back here. But also I'm working there to understand the environment that they become settled in. Because I don't want to destabilise a work that has become settled. Even if the environment isn't ideal, the paper might have become used to it. So coming back to your own home, if you've bought a Rembrandt, let's buy a Rembrandt, and obviously sunlight is going to either bleach the paper, it's going to bleach the pigments, or it's going to, not with a Rembrandt, but a modern work of art, it could encourage the acidity, the natural inherent acidity within the paper to turn brown. Obviously, modern glazings have a UV barrier now, and they're the shortest wavelengths that are in the light, and they get to paper quite quickly. So, you'd love to be able to see your Rembrandt, so don't tuck it away.
Yes.
But certainly put it behind a good UV glazing, away from the glass as well, because if the paper expands and hits the glass, it could stick to it, or the pigments, the binder within the pigments might stick to the glass. And what you really don't want is above a radiator that goes on and off, because again, the paper will just do this. So paper likes stability.
Yeah. What I find most interesting is that you talk about drawings as they are living things, and they are effective.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they modify and
they do. They change.
So interesting because we think of them as stable objects, but at the same time.
Yeah, and actually, in that respect, what I do advise people to do, I don't like to. I love art to be seen, and I love to be able to encourage people to enjoy their art. And I think if they're familiar with their art through photography, so with your Rembrandt, to take some good photographs just on your phone with what it looks like, because your eye plays tricks on you, and your memory plays tricks. And in 6 months' time, you might think, has it changed? And there's nothing like going back to your photograph and think, actually, no, it hasn't. So I love us all to be able to enjoy art, but to just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And actually to do so with photography is wonderful. It's very empowering.
Definitely.
You don't need me, and I think that's very important.
It is. And that will lead us, I think, to a next chapter concerning decision-making, ethics, on the concept of conservation, authenticity as well. So my first question would be, this conservation-related decisions, they also have, other than a technical side we were discussing, also ethical, deeply ethical side. And what frameworks guide your choices in practice when it comes to conservation and having to counterbalance some ethical aspect as well to it?
Yes, it is a tightrope that we tread. I try and do my best for the artist and his intent. That's what I'm really trying to understand. When an artist has drawn something, why has he done it? And what is he wanting us to see? And that governs a lot of what I do. People often, you and I were chatting about a wonderful morning, Sunday morning at Christie's, where we were talking about old master drawings, and the question of foxing always comes up.
Yep.
Because these tiny, tiny, minute particles of iron in paper oxidize, and there are the little brown spots that appear. And this is quite an interesting case where you have so much foxing that it becomes so distracting that the human eye is easily distracted. So you could have a beautiful drawing, but if it's covered in foxing, to me that's a shame. I'd hate somebody to be approaching a beautiful drawing saying, "Oh, but what a shame about the foxing." And this is where ethics comes in, because foxing isn't easily treated, but it can be treated. But it's quite you have to effectively, through aqueous treatments, through washing or bleaching. We all have our different ways of. It's quite an invasive treatment, so you've got to be able to justify it. And to me, providing what I do isn't going to store up trouble in the future. That's not my job. That would be a terrible thing to do. Or to take away from the artist's work through not understanding its pigments. If through moving the foxing, I cause some of the lines to move through the aqueous treatments, that would be terrible. Mm-hmm. So the ethics is always balancing my wish to do the best for the artist and his intention, but ensuring that what I do isn't storing up trouble or isn't causing damage in itself. So it's a balance all the time.
Yeah. And the key again is understanding.
It's understanding.
Definitely. Understanding what the artist was doing,
yes.
and also being understanding of the future consequences of the actions.
Yeah, whatever. You know, we talk a lot about reversibility. It's an ideal, but it's not always achievable. You know, if I'm asked to take away a lot of adhesive residue from the back of a work, you don't want that to be, you know, I want to be able to take it off and throw it away. But I certainly would like anything that I adhere to the work to be able to be taken off if necessary. Because trends change. It's amazing how trends change even over 30 years. I mean, I know conservation is quite a new discipline. It's sort of maybe 70s upwards. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure. But certainly over my 30 years, trends come and go and they'll carry on changing. So the trend, for example, I'm a part of now is maybe not to put a false margin, to let the paper be a 3D object rather than a 2D object. So I'm spending quite a lot of my time at the moment taking off inlays, you know, these the borders that are applied to an old master drawing to enable it to be mounted safely. And that's been a tradition for a long time, and now we're taking them all off, and it's not to say that they might all go back on again. So whatever I do, as much as possible, need to be reversed.
Absolutely. And that leads me to the question about tolerance for visible damage. Has it changed over the year? Fashion again, I suppose.
Oh, yes.
Institutions, collectors,
yes.
What do they prefer, more or less?
They prefer less. There used to be more of a divide. You know, you'd go into a museum or an institution, it would be very, very much less. Is that grammatically correct? I don't know.
Yes.
It would be less.
You tell me.
And maybe a collector might be more. But now, you know, you could have a sketch that's crumpled up. The last thing anybody would want would be for the crumples to really go, or for the perforated edge not to be seen. You want to know it's a sketch, and that maybe he or she has spilt something on their sketch. So yes, our tolerances or our understanding, I think that's my key word actually. It's understanding it, and that's where the fun is.
Definitely. When it comes to later editions, what do you think? I mean, they become part of the history of the objects, but sometimes maybe a collector wants something to be removed because it's not been done by the original artist. Yeah. And what's the deal with that?
That's really, really quite tricky.
Yeah.
And that's where actually it's nice to have backup. You know, if you've got a curator alongside you or somebody who knows even more. You know, I'm part of a team. We're all part of a team of people who love art. So a later edition, is it the artist's later edition? Or as you mentioned, you know, an edition that may be doing harm to the object now. I've recently been looking at a Picasso where it's a collage, and the pieces of paper are adhered with pins.
What?
Picasso. But what's wonderful, they're stainless steel.
Yeah. Wow.
So they can stay.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of pins and staples that are rusting. And you think, okay, so they're doing no good to the object. But the artist put them there. And then you just have to have a chat, because it would be terrible to take something away, but equally to leave something that's a ticking time bomb. You know, quite a few modern materials are not going to last. So, yeah, there's always tension, but those are the moments when I need backup, because to make that decision of taking something out, I think it's collaborative, certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before talking about some special case studies from your career, I'd like to ask you what's in your bag, the craft, the tools of the craft. I feel like one of those bloggers for fashion, you know,
My
they ask what's in your bag. But yeah.
My bag.
Your bag.
You see, here's my bag. So I was at the National Gallery this morning. And people joke that this is my doctor's bag. So what have I got? So today I've come from a de-installation. So as I mentioned earlier, I help at the installation, checking that something is going to be happy for 3 months, and then I've been back to check that they were happy, that the papers behaved. So what have I had? A torch. And these, torches have now come on so far. This is a phenomenal torch from...
I'm jealous, I don't have such a nice torch.
Yeah, it's Amazon, £70.
We'll get one for the gallery.
I used to... torches of this quality used to be about £300. Wow. Shows everything up. So my torch. What else have I got? Okay.
Wow.
I didn't need these today, but sometimes, works come along, and they say, "Can you have a look?" And you've got to get them out of the frame.
Handy,
which means you also need a screwdriver.
For unmounting and from frames.
Screwdrivings.
Yeah.
That's that. What else have I got? UV light, underdrawings, later editions.
Maybe for our public's sake, how can one spot overpaint with blue light? Because we might be accustomed with it, but maybe people.
It's different. So the different densities of pigment layers. If you've got an overpainting, you've got more pigment there.
So would fluoresce in a different...
They fluoresce in different ways.
Exactly.
So it's just... I remember when my son was little, and he realised that what I did in my job was to cut and paste and to spot the difference. And that stayed with me, because just noting difference. So that's quite useful. All of these things. What else have I got? This is quite new. Still got it there. This is quite useful. Yeah. Because a lot of works are hinged at the bottom, and people want, understandably, is there writing on the back? And you can just go under, lift it up, have a little look. So that's quite new. These are lovely. My husband said he's going to bury me with these. These are old.
Goggles.
Goggles.
I've never seen these.
They're watchmaker's glasses.
Beautiful.
We all have optivisors, but they're quite large and plastic.
So they magnify a bit.
They magnify.
Okay. Fantastic.
They're my magnifying.
Beautiful box as well, I find.
Beautiful mock. What's that? Mock snake skin.
Yeah. Wow. Fancy.
I'm clearly a girl who likes mock snakeskin. I've got a couple of pairs of these. And in a little box like this, it's easy to take around, to have a quick look.
Definitely.
And what else do I have?
Well, many things.
Many things in my bag. Actually, I mean, this is a problem when you go through... when you go into an exhibition or to a gallery and they want to see in your bag and they say, is there anything sharp? And you think,
where do I start?
I've got so many deadly weapons in here. And this roll has been with me since college days, this little roll. All manner, it used to be perfectly ordered, and it really isn't ordered now. I haven't got my glasses. I was working with another conservator from the Met, and this is a shark's tooth.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
No, not many people in St James's have a shark's tooth wound, but you can tuck something down, you can tuck a repair down.
How did you get it? May I ask?
We were talking. It was we were working on, what was it? I think the Van Gogh installation, Van Gogh's drawings
At the National Gallery.
at the National Gallery, and we were talking. And 3 months later, she came back, and I must have said something that I'd had a problem. And she made me this.
Wow.
She said, Helen, the next time you have a problem, this might do it.
So special.
So I've got all manner of things.
Super.
You know, retractable knives, palette knives, pencils, not in any order. So that's what you end up carrying around, anything from a shark's tooth to a pair of pliers.
Yeah.
You know, it makes flying tricky. Everything has to go in the hold, otherwise you're in deep trouble.
Yep.
So, but this is my London.
Okay.
Not everybody's London bag, but
Helen's
this is my London bag. So there we are.
We can maybe now talk about some case studies that you remember particularly. And my first question would be an example where conservation fundamentally changed how the work you were working at was understood. Maybe from the curator point of view, from the collector's point of view.
You kindly asked me, let me know that you would be asking me this question, and so I've thought ahead, and I have two examples. One was very exciting. It was a constable drawing, and again it had a backing, but the backing was doing it no good at all. The glue that had been used to adhere the backing to the drawing had, over time the glue had dried and contracted, so the drawing had just done this, so it had to come off. But nonetheless, I needed to get the backing wet in order to take it off. And I'd humidified the work and was gradually rolling away the backing, and I saw some writing that I knew to be Constable's. You know, we're familiar with Constable's handwriting. And sure enough, it was his Hampstead address, whereas the work had come to me on the understanding that it had been drawn in East Berkholt, which is his home, to which he used to return. But this was distinctly Well Walk, and that's Hampstead. So it changed the date of the drawing and what we knew, and it was written in Constable's handwriting, and that was lovely.
It was, yeah.
It was terrifying, you know, because you're then suddenly I've made a backing wet in order to take it off, and underneath the backing is handwriting in ink that could smudge
because of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was wonderful. A more poignant moment, maybe only last year, was being asked to take a label off the back of a work because there was a suspicion that there was a Nazi accession number underneath it. And sure enough, it was there, which again changed everything. For the person who owned it, who didn't know, who might have wanted to sell the work, who then couldn't. And then our relationship to the artwork was knowing that it had been, you know, it was incredibly complex, and that stayed with me. Has stayed with me. What the journey a piece of art goes on. So that, yeah, the Nazi accession number.
Yeah, definitely.
It was quite something.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting, because it's exactly what we're trying to do in this podcast, is to create some conversations with different members of the so-called art world, to show that it's all interconnected: conservation, provenance research, restitution cases, research, art historical research, and selling and buying. It's all interconnected, and dialogue and conversations are so important.
Yes.
Because,
and that's what makes it so fun. Such fun.
It is.
Talking with others.
It is. Yeah, really enjoying this.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, if you have, one of the final questions at this point would be another conservation case that encapsulates the complexity of your profession. What would that be and why? I mean, a case in which maybe you had to take difficult decisions, maybe there wasn't the best thing to do at the moment, and you had in front of you many options and you had to take a choice. You had maybe pressure from the museum or from a collector to act in a certain way. Because I guess there are many points of interest in the conversation, no? When it comes to conservation. The dealer, the buyer, the seller. Is there a case that comes to mind?
Oh gosh.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but...
I mean, let's say a scrapbook. Now, a scrapbook could be a difficult work to approach because it's as much the composition of the artist as the works inside.
Yeah.
It's the whole, it's the sum of the parts and the whole, you know, and often scrapbooks, for example, are ephemeral. You know, we have them as children. Yeah. So they may not be of the best quality, whereas the drawings collected by an artist, for example, the drawings may be of better quality than the paper that supports it, but the artist has chosen both. A scrapbook is a movable collage, isn't it? To keep the paintings or the drawings with the little annotations on paper that has a self-destruct button. Wow. That's really complex. Yeah. And again, in that situation, you need backup. You need to explain both sides. And then to defer to somebody who may know more historically about the object and the artist and the relevance of the scrapbook itself.
Absolutely.
The scrapbook as object, or the scrapbook as collage, or the scrapbook as whimsy of the artist, or maybe the artist wouldn't care at all anyway, you know. So I think a scrapbook would be a complex affair. Yeah. Personally.
Because many of the things we work with, drawings, I'm speaking about drawings, they weren't necessarily made for lasting in history. There were maybe some working sheets or preparatory drawings, and then, you know, who thought they would have lasted, 500 years? Yes. And yet today we're talking about conserving them and people collecting them through history. So
exactly.
That's fascinating, because maybe, you know, a painting, it's a different matter, in a way. A fresco as well. Yes. A drawing is, such a movable object.
Yes. But we love them.
We love them.
We love them because it's the immediate, you know, that I can spend a long time looking at a line, a beautiful line. We were looking at this earlier, and the wisps of hair, not laboured over, just a little wisp. Yeah. A line can be ephemeral, but we want, yes.
And it's the mind of the artist at work. Like what you see is the stream of thoughts.
Yes. Yeah.
That's happening. Yeah,
yes.
Definitely.
There's such a direct, and particularly if, for example, it's something like charcoal, you've only got, it's the hand on the charcoal, on the paper.
So direct. Yeah.
So direct. I would say a scrapbook would be, if Rembrandt had a scrapbook that I had to conserve, that would be tricky.
A challenge. You can see.
Yeah, a scrapbook that was falling apart, that if you didn't do something to it, it would fall apart more, but by doing something to it, you're taking away from it. That's a challenge.
Well, okay. My final question then, as I like to finish this conversation, is asking if someone would walk away from this conversation understanding just one thing about your job, about conservation of works on paper, what would that be, and what do you hope that was in this case?
And again, you were so kind to let me know that you'd be asking this. My dog walks of late have been thinking, what do I do? What do I do? I try to understand. That's my big thing, to understand. And I realised that all of us in the conservation profession or within art history, curatorial work, we're advocates, I've realised, for the work. You know, I mean, paper can be noisy. I'm forever listening to paper to see the nature of its chemical composition. But by and large, works of art are quiet. So you look at them, you try and understand them, and then you become their voice. Oh. So I think we're all advocates, and we can get it wrong, but we try not to. And the more we understand, hopefully the less likely it is that we make mistakes. So I think advocacy is what I do with my bag.
Well, that's beautifully put, and I think we can close on this note. Well, thank you so much, Helen. It's been lovely to have you.
It's been such a pleasure.
Here. Thank you.
Really an unexpected joy. Thank you so much.
And for me as well. Thank you. And thank you everybody for listening and watching. I'll see you in other episodes of Colnaghi Talks.